This is Flipping Table! Welcome to Flipping Tables, a podcast about technology, culture, and culture, and games, and stuff like that. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Edwards.
And I am David Lyons.
And we are here to bring you some rants and tech news and culture again.
Yeah. So actually, can I start with a little tiny personal anecdote?
Yes.
So in the last few weeks to couple months, I've had to deal with a lot of different businesses, like big companies like airlines, and small businesses like little local, fabricators and shops and stuff. And I've become intently aware that the way you handle a customer complaint is basically all that matters.
Yeah.
Like doing the job right the first time is gets you to like a B plus, because then I never have to talk to you again unless we do business again. But the way you handle a customer complaint is all that matters. And I'll just say this so I don't go on like a 90-minute tirade. I was talking to a representative, and I'll just call him out. It was Hertz. So I was talking to a representative at Hertz, and I'm explaining to the woman what my issue is. And then all of a sudden, I realize I can hear music. I was like, oh my God, she put me on hold. Like while I was talking to her, she just put me on hold. So then I wait, and she comes back like 5 seconds later, and I said, did you just put me on hold while I was in the middle of explaining my issue to you? And she went, yes, sir, I did. I was like, you need to put me on with your supervisor immediately, because that is so unacceptably rude. And she was just like, okay, hold. And then she did other crazy nonsense after that I won't bore everybody with. But I was just like, I can't. What customer service training program did you go through?
You always tell the customer that you're doing that, and preferably for a good reason. Like, right? I'm going to work on this. Can I put you on hold for a moment?
Yeah. So that was, it's all about how you handle customer complaints. Because honestly, if I had gone through that whole process and they had just said like, oh, we're sorry, we'll refund like the small fee that you shouldn't have had on there. But instead, I was like, well, and you did this wrong, and you did this wrong, and you did that wrong. And by the time I actually got to someone who could help my problem, they had to refund a bunch of my money because I was really pissed.
Yeah.
So, the final person I got to did eventually set it right. But geez, it's like I had to go through 5 people.
And companies get into loss prevention, and it's like they take away the ability of the person to make you happy. It's like, well, you can refund 0 things.
Yeah, and that was
try to make someone happy.
That was exactly what ultimately happened. Is when I finally got to someone who wasn't an idiot, and I explained to them what it was they needed to do to fix my bill. He was like, I can't. He was like, I agree with you that that's what needs to happen, but I have to transfer you to this other department. And I was like, don't transfer me again, man. Don't do this to me, bro. Like, this is going to be transfer number 5 or number 4. I was like, you don't do this to me. And he was like, I can't do anything. He was like, this other department, they're the only people. And the last person I spoke to did end up helping me. But every time you get transferred, it's a gamble. It's a roll of the dice.
Yeah. It's like I'm going to have to tell my entire story again.
Yep.
And then probably, it's just like, hi, I'm a server, human version.
And I think there's something to be said for how much, there's an exponential growth of anger every time you have to tell that same story again in like a 10-minute span. Because the first time you're like, the dome light was out in my car. Then by the 5th time you have to tell that story, you're like, the car had no wheels and it was on fire.
And it had rabies somehow. There was like foam on front.
Yes, and then it gave my grandparents Ebola. Because by that time, like, you're so angry. Yeah, that's my little... All right. I just had to get that out.
We do have a little bit of follow-up this week on our spoilers discussion, and I actually want to read at least a portion of this comment, if not most of it. One of our listeners said, I get annoyed when spoilers come out of left field, no indication of the topic being discussed in the show notes or description. What's worse is when someone blurts out the spoiler, then says, spoiler alert, that's not a save, you're just a jerk. I also think the subject matter is important. You talk about plot twists, knowing there's a twist changes how the story unfolds for you, and I hate that. Also true for really intense dramas. I knew something was going to happen to a certain character in House of Cards, and I was, spoiler alert, and I was looking for it. My husband came in fresh, and his reaction to that moment in question was priceless.
Yeah, so I think the part of this is like maybe a tiny little bit of a jab like directly at us, just because like our show notes I think we do pretty robust show notes, but they're not all inclusive. Like there are definitely comments in the show that don't necessitate a show note. So
fiber.
Yeah, exactly like that. So, if we say something during the course of the show that ruins something for you, I'm super sorry. But I agree that if the entire episode or a large chunk of it is like, on this week's episode, we discuss how in House of Cards, everyone in America dies. All in one episode.
Of rabies.
Yes. So then like that, you should probably front load that's what you're going to be talking about. That just made me realize that people do sometimes go like 90% of the way to the spoiler by saying they're about to. Like, oh, I really want to tell you about this one group of characters in The Walking Dead that dies. Nobody thought they were going to die, but they do die. Can I tell you about it? And it's like, you just told me about it. All you have to do is name them now.
At least with that show, someone dies all the time. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually watch The Walking Dead. I just figured that was a safe one for character death.
Yeah.
I guess Game of Thrones would have been pretty safe.
So, super sorry for Spoilerland. Carolyn, I agree with you, I think, pretty heavily on that. I do like having that fresh experience, and it's not even so much the details, it's just getting that emotional experience. But it varies. It depends on the show. It depends on the context.
I have some things I have found I'm more interested, because I have been watching House of Cards. I'm more interested in experiencing how that series is going to end, whether it's like, because the British one, I guess, is already done. So there's suspicion about how the American one will end. And like, I couldn't help myself because I want to solve the puzzle. Like, we talked about it off the air, and I'll be interested to see if that's what happens, but I don't want someone to see the American ending and then spoil it for me.
Yeah.
I mean, if it happens, I'm, whatever, but I'd rather they didn't.
And it's rabies, everyone.
It's rabies.
So tell us about...
show is brought to you by rabies.
Tell us about plastic. This is another vowel removal company.
You were born in a terrible time in history for language, because you are not a fan of the vowel drop. I mean, I don't know why you would be a fan of it.
But is that like language dubstep?
A little bit, yeah. It kind of feels that way, because you just get hit by consonants all over. So I guess it's pronounced plastic, but plastic is another entrant into the like smart credit card.
Digital wallet.
Yeah, it's...
Ish.
Yeah, I guess when I think of digital wallet, I think of like a mobile device, but I guess this still kind of fits in that. So basically the idea is you have a card that's about the size of a credit card, but it has smart guts in it, and you can use it as like 20 different credit cards, and also anything with a magnetic strip, like a library card or whatever, what they call them, loyalty cards, any of that crap. So Coin was the first one of these that I had ever heard of. They announced it, and they didn't do a Kickstarter. They did like a pre-order thing. So it was like,
get in line.
Well, it was like, hey, this product doesn't exist, but you should give us money.
But shouldn't it?
Yeah, well, it was more like, no, dude, we're definitely going to sell this. Yeah. So you should pre-order. And then the window for when they were supposed to ship has come and gone. I think it was this July.
Ooh.
Yeah. And
vaporware.
As far as I know, they haven't shipped yet. So that's always kind of sketchy.
So it seems like mobile payments, wallet cutter, there's not a good term for exactly saying this. Like, it's not like cord cutting where you're like, oh, yeah. This is happening, but how long and what will the stages be? Like, how long is this going to take before I'm just like, pay for the thing and wave my hand and then it's done?
Well,
everywhere.
So I think the coin and plastic is the same kind of deal. Plastic is actually, I think, more clever because it can do more stuff because it has a battery in it. The trade-off is that the battery has to be charged, but it lasts for 30 days.
You ready to charge your credit card, America?
Yeah, that's exactly. It lasts for 30 days, and they're shipping it with a wireless charging pad. So what they're saying is just put this charging pad where you put your wallet every night. And then when you set your wallet down on it, it will just always be charged. And the fact that it lasts 30 days means like you can go on vacation with it fully charged, and unless you get amazing 2-month-long vacations, you're not going to have to worry about it.
Which case you have someone else that carries your stuff and pays for you.
Yeah, exactly. You have other ways.
Put it on my tab.
Yeah. So I think coin and plastic are interesting because they feel like the middle step. Whereas like Apple Pay and Google Wallet, and I think Verizon tried to clumsily step into this space and failed. Like sometimes my phone is dead. Like sometimes I walk into a store and I'm like, oh, I just want to buy an iced tea and I don't have my phone with me because I'm in gym shorts or something. Like it's kind of a weird place where it's like I have my phone with me the vast majority of the time, but there are times I have my wallet but not my phone.
So I think a different middle step is going to happen. Unless I'm just totally wrong on this, I don't think something like plastic is going to work. I think it's going to be, I will use my phone to pay 90% of the time, and I have one card for the emergencies or that one place or when I'm out and about and I need a credit card.
So it'll still be a dumb card.
Yeah, it'll be the one dumb card that's always with you. The rest are at home, and convenient mobile payments almost everywhere. I think that'll be a long middle stage of like you have the lifeline for when battery's dead. But buying like a smart credit card, I don't see that.
So I'm going to cast a whole bunch of aspersions here, but let's just presume that you could get the data from non-credit cards onto like a coin or a plastic. Would that make it worth carrying? Because if you disassembled my wallet, I only carry like 5 cards now, but 2 of them are identification. So, my state driver's license and then my ID for work. And I need to carry my ID for work because it also unlocks doors.
Yeah.
Then I have my Car2Go card, which, I need to unlock a Car2Go. And then I have a my
I wonder how long till you can just NFC Car2Gos from your phone, though.
This is exactly what I'm getting at. Is like the majority of the stuff in my wallet is not money. Like it's not even digital money.
Yeah.
It's just identification and rectangular keys.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what I need to replace. Me personally, like I don't want to carry my transit card. I don't want to carry my Car2Go card. I don't want to carry my even work ID. Like I just want to be able to tap my phone or my ring or my face against
flail my elbow in the area around.
Yeah, that's what I want. So like, I mean, do you mind saying like how many money cards do you carry?
At least 2.
Right. Yeah.
Debit and credit.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I have. So it's like debit if I need cash, credit for basically everything else. So I mean, the idea of like it can hold 10 credit cards. I'm like, nope.
Non-starter.
Yeah, you've served. I mean, it's neat, I guess, but like that doesn't serve any function.
Like
for me.
other credit cards we have are just to buy stuff online for specific rewards.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and like,
and that's the other thing that, I mean, I guess plastic would preserve that because it'd be using your actual credit card. But the mobile systems are going to be, I know Apple Pay is going to, like, you can use your real card, you will get the same rewards.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's not like it's hiding your reward system.
Right. And I know like some stores have their line right? Like we're doing
The
some
Macy's card.
yeah, we're doing some home upgrade stuff, so it went on like the Lowe's card because you get a discount on the Lowe's card.
It's like a card that exists for one purpose that I'm going to cancel as soon as we pay off.
yeah, that pretty much exactly that. But the thing is, like, I had an issue. I went back into Lowe's and I don't carry that card with me because I know when I need to use it. So I go back into Lowe's and I was like, oh, I need to put this on my Lowe's card, but I don't have it. And they were like, okay, we found your account. And I was like, well, you just convinced me to never carry it.
Yeah.
Because you just taught me that to pay with it, I don't need to have it. So expect to do this a lot.
Because you're a Lowe's subscriber, I guess, or you have some.
Because it's not a card that has Lowe's rewards. It's a dedicated Lowe's card that works only in Lowe's.
Yeah.
So they maintain all the records.
Yeah. Like, so they have that hooked up to your actual payment separately.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they just send you a bill.
Yeah.
So it's like you just taught me to never carry this card. Like the day Cardigo announces like, oh, you can use NFC on your phone or Bluetooth to log into a Cardigo with your phone, I'm going to throw that thing into a drawer and never take it out.
I'm going to pull up a firecracker on it.
Were you like Sid from Toy Story?
Pretty much.
Take it out in the backyard.
I am wearing a skull shirt today.
You should be every day. So, but I mean, do you have a lot of reward cards? Like, because that's where I'm at. Like, if it solved my reward card, tap to log in, tap to unlock doors, then I would be interested.
Yeah.
But as long as all it does is debit and credit cards, I'm like, I already don't have that problem.
Yeah. No, I don't have I have an airline, an Amazon, and an iTunes reward card.
Right. But those probably sit in a filing cabinet that's locked.
And probably there's a couple store cards sitting around that I don't even think about.
Right. Yeah. So I wonder, maybe this is why this isn't taking off. Maybe this is a solution in search of a problem.
Yeah.
So I hate to be sexist, but for anyone who carries a purse, which is more often women than men, maybe they carry more of their cards at any time than a guy might. Because, like, I use a slim wallet, so I really pared down. Yeah. But even if I had a full-size wallet, you can only fit 5-6 cards in there.
Well, I even just wonder if we're representative in general. Like, do most people carry many cards? Maybe that's a question for the listener. Oh. How many cards do you carry? What are their numbers? And what is your CVV code?
Yeah. And what's your middle initial and your mother's maiden name? But so maybe this could also potentially be a generational thing. Because I remember as a kid really wanting a wallet because my dad had a wallet.
Yeah.
You know? And then, like, after carrying a big fat wallet full of receipts and crap around for 10 years, I was like, this is awful. I hate this.
I hate getting change. That is the worst.
People who carry change in their wallet.
Yeah, they're the worst.
How do you do that?
They belong with people who talk at the theater.
That special circle in hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. God, it's so awkward. It's making my pocket feel weird just thinking about it.
And people who, like, guys who wear their wallet in their back pocket and don't take it out when they sit down in the car or something.
That was what made me move to a slim wallet. Because I realized my wallet was pretty lean, but I was still like, I'm sitting on like this inch thick.
It's just like ready for back problems.
Yeah, so you're like cantilevered to one side all the time. Cantilever. Like, no?
I can't leave her.
I can't even leave her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, but yeah, my wallet, I actually don't have it, which is disconcerting because it's in my bag, but I
do want to like get past the like Lord of the Rings, where is it? Like fear, like where's my precious whenever, but I switched to front pocket a long time ago. It's like keys actually hook into belt.
Yep. So if you were going to replace everything with your phone, what would you? Because I've actually thought about this. Like,
fanny pack.
Fanny pack?
No.
Would you maybe start carrying a little chargy dealie for a phone?
Well, 99% of my life is near a charger.
True. At
home, at the office, in my car, I have chargers. So I feel like it's more the exception than the rule when as soon as like you can take it for granted that just about every place you go to will take mobile payments. I don't really worry about the charge being a big deal. But again, I do see the one card you have with you being, which again is sort of like the problem we already have, is I don't have a lot of credit cards. It's all the other shit.
Yeah.
But
so when will we get?
It is a shame fanny packs aren't fashionable.
They're really functional. They min-maxed. It's just all function, no fashion. So is there any point where in the near future, like, well, let me rephrase, how long before you can have a digital like driver's license? Like when can a cop pull me over because I didn't have my seatbelt on and I can say, oh, here, officer, and show him my phone and be like, there's my license number?
Well, I remember there being some movements to have digital identification in the mid-2000s, and people were freaking out about Big Brother stuff. They're just like, ah!
They know that the plastic card is tied to digital records, yes?
Yeah, and that they already track us everywhere anyway. But I think that was a more naive time. But I think there's also the concern that, like, I don't know, I've heard the phrase, maybe this was from someone from a European country that has already gone through this transition to being identified everywhere in every way, is like, we're going to have a database culture. We already do, but we're going to have one. So might as well proactively try to set it up in a fair and just way that won't lead to an awful society, an awful government. Like the way records are handled, who owns the information, how is it shared, like all that stuff. That is policy and politics and ugly and I feel like we're just gonna back ourselves into it as a nation, and then we're gonna end up with this really broken, awful. This is a much bigger topic
because we're gonna be resisting it all the way. But I kind of wonder. So the license thing is particularly interesting to me because, like, I'm required to carry my work ID to get through a couple doors, but I actually don't have to carry it. Like, we don't work in a...
I don't know. There might actually be policy that you're supposed to, like... I know...
okay.
We don't have to talk about work,
but I mean, we don't work in, like, Lockheed Martin, where they shoot you if you try and come in.
Is that what they do? They shoot you with a rabies gun.
They're pretty militant over there. And rabies guns, that's what they're working on. But I mean, like, so I could probably get away without carrying that. I can't get rid of my...
Without carrying a rabies gun.
I can't get away without my rail card because if, God forbid, you get on the train and you don't have your card, they're like, they see the guilt on your face. They're like, that guy.
They smell fear.
Yes. But the thing about the driver's license that's always been interesting to me is and this may be different state to state because I doubt this is federally mandated, but at least in Florida where I originally got my driver's license, you have to be licensed to drive. You don't have to carry a driver's license.
That definitely varies state to state.
Yeah. So if you got pulled over in Florida and they said, where's your driver's license? You could say, I don't have it. Here's my driver's license number. And then they look you up in their smots, like in the Blues Brothers. And then...
It seems like that's an analog era efficiency of, like, people are just going to say they don't have it on them, and you make it the rule you have to have it on you just to shortcut the, like, I don't want to have to figure out if you're actually licensed before we have the internet.
Yeah.
And we need to change that. You can look it up.
Yes.
You already look up my insurance status.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I wonder. But then, I mean, the main purpose of, like, I would say the thing that my driver's license gets pulled out for more than any other thing is
drinking.
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 Yes, drinking, exactly. And I mean, there's no doubt that I am over 21. Like, I don't look old, but
Man, you old.
No 19-year-old looks like me. They just don't. But I understand, it's usually like if you look under 35 or if you look under 40, they have
that number's been going up and up. It used to be like if you look under 23. Because now it's like if you look younger than Christopher Lee, then I have to card you.
It's all the HGH in the milk. Now you got like 10-year-olds running around with full beards and white hair. But so this is the thing is, I think in actual official capacity, we're basically already set to replace identification, but then these stupid little analog capacities. Like, I don't really want a bartender or the cashier at the grocery store to have access to the nationwide license database to look up my age.
Yeah.
Right?
It needs to be like a number or a mobile phone tap or something that exchanges tokens and doesn't reveal any information to the merchant. It's just like the government
Just
agency
true,
is
false.
returning a Boolean on is this person old enough?
See that? Yeah. I mean, I would love to see something
And that'll
like
be
that.
everywhere. It'll be like, are you physically fit enough to ride this roller coaster? Boop, boop. Yes. You don't have to be like, I don't have cancer. I don't have rabies.
I can see someone crying nanny state over that.
Yeah. But this is what I'm saying from that whatever obscure quote from someone in some other nation. Like, you're going to have a database culture. Might as well try to set it up right.
Well, I mean, we're there. We just
do.
pretend.
We just have
we're
a
not.
terrible one.
Yeah.
But the thing that drives me nuts about payment, to bring it back to payments more directly, is that most of the other parts of the developed world have already gotten to like chip and pin.
You mean all of them? All of them.
But to me, I want to focus on the restaurant payment. And this is the American, and maybe it's like American service culture, sort of like in some states where they pump gas for you, that like they take your card to the back room,
For an
swipe
indeterminate amount of time.
and then bring you a piece of paper so you can say how much you want to tip. But you have no idea what happened to your card and the 3-digit security code.
Yeah.
It's just like, I know that it's like, it doesn't really happen, but it happens sometimes to someone that you're giving your card and it's not secure.
And do you realize it was in our lifetimes, not all that long ago, that the merchant copy of a credit card receipt had the full number on it?
Yeah.
Like, I remember walking out of restaurants and taking the merchant copy and putting it like under a napkin holder or under like the condiment bottle so that someone just casually walking by couldn't be like, oh, his number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Where my urge when I get a receipt is I want to tear it up and like, it's like, I want to secure delete this.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's from decades of them being idiots about it.
So I don't get that, America. And that's actually one of the things that's probably slowing down our like, that will make, like paying in a restaurant will be weird for Americans because we're used to this awful security setup of take my information away and bring it back. Like I just
pretty please don't steal my identity.
And I'm sure it varies widely in Europe, but I'm aware that like they bring a machine to your table, you swipe your card.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's a little
that makes a
portable
lot
thing.
of sense. Is that just like not elegant to have payment come to your table? And
I suspect it's because of a lot of other technology nonsense we have, which is we did credit cards either first or very early.
so we're stuck with the old infrastructure.
Yes, exactly. We established these broken norms, and then other people were like, oh, we want to take part of what you're doing, but not the dumb parts.
Yeah.
And then they did it smarter. You know, I mean, this is why South Korean internet totally kicks the ass of American internet because they came to it like a decade later, but they learned from all the horrible mistakes we made.
Yeah. I was just, so it's the weird thing that the marketing that's going to say that mobile payments are insanely more secure is going to be really damn true in America because of our social norms for payment.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's so much better, it's because we're so bad.
Yeah. I think we might luck out a tiny bit just because chip and pin for credit is really the experience is very similar to paying with a debit card. So I guess if the person walks over and they hand you the little machine like that adjustment I think will come a lot easier than credit card companies are acting like. You know, I mean, you have companies like Visa who are like, oh, Americans won't stand for that. And it's like, what do you think Americans do when they travel to Europe or Asia and pay for something with a credit card? Do you think they just like flip tables and they're like, I take my card out of my sight?
And even like most routine transactions, you are the one swiping the card now. You're in Walgreens, you're in a fast food place. They just have front-facing terminals and you swipe.
Oh, yeah, because you sign digitally.
Yeah.
You know, and
with the super low-res chicken scratch.
And I've noticed now a lot of places, is it $50? If it's under $50, you don't even have to sign.
Yeah.
So it's like, I take my card out of my pocket, I slide it, I put my card back in my pocket, and no one else ever sees it or touches it. Like, that's good. Like, step in the right direction.
Yeah.
So you got a thing in here about the FFA. You have a thing in here
Plastic.
about the flight attendants. You said challenging. I think they're actually talking about suing the FAA.
Yeah.
Over this. So explain this.
So I want to find the part of the quote here. Let me.
You want me to explain it while you do research? Okay, so some flight attendants got together and they basically said that mobile devices like tablets and smartphones should not be allowed to be used during takeoff because that's the most turbulent part of the flight. They can become projectiles and kill everyone on the plane.
That's what I wanted to read. So the FAA basically is like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. Just let people use their little devices the whole flight. And the unions, so here's the quote. The union says the devices can distract passengers from safety announcements. You know, the worst part of the flight. Yeah. Or other than crying babies, and become dangerous projectiles. And I just think that's insane. That's the crazy language of we have to overstate our case to get attention.
Well, and I never remember seeing anyone with a book ever told,
please stop throwing iPads at me.
Well, yes, please.
Oh, yeah, and books can be projectiles too. Hardcover books.
Yeah, so the next flight I go on, I want to take like
it's also very distracting from the safety announcement.
Exactly. I want to take like book 7 of Harry Potter, which is like the size of a dictionary because it's, big type and it's a big hardcover, and I'm going to sit there and I guarantee you no one will even look at me cross-eyed. But if I have my 7-ounce tiny little mobile device, you're going to be like, whoa, he's distracted. That could become a dangerous projectile.
They think you're like Ricky Jay and you can throw cards through watermelons, like playing cards.
You could definitely throw volume 7 of Harry Potter through watermelon, but it would be more of like an explosion.
More Gallagher than Ricky Jay.
Exactly. But I mean, this, as soon as I saw this article, I was like, okay, so now you have to list the ways that this is somehow different from a book or a magazine, because until you can do that, you're also saying we have to ban books and magazines.
Which, unfortunately, I hope that's not like that. You're right. Boom, banned everything.
Yeah, that would be a sad moral victory. It's like, yay, I was right. I made everything worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot to say about this except it's dumb. You're dumb.
Well, and we just got here. We just crossed the bridge out of stupidity into Reason Town. We're not even all the way inside the city limits, and they're like, oh, we should go back to stupidity.
And I want to say, and I normally hate this phrase, but I think you're on the wrong side of history. I hate that phrase because it implies there's some definite order to history, some ultimate progression, but you're on the wrong side of history.
So I think some issues are, just give me the other side of this argument. Like, explain to me how these objects are in any way different from the objects we're totally cool with. It sounds to me
like when teachers are like, put away your laptops, listen to me talk. It doesn't matter if I suck. You have to listen to me talk now. And it's like, well, how about you make this actually a good learning experience? If you're worried about your little safety announcements, make me want to pay attention.
Well, it's like, I think... Oh man, was it Delta? Somebody not that long ago started making their videos like kind of funny and like interesting. I mean, think about it from the customer's viewpoint. Like, you're a flight attendant, you're a pilot, you're a mechanic or whatever who works on airlines. Like, you're up in the sky all the time. It becomes mundane to you. To someone who flies maybe like a couple of times a year, it's like, I sit down on this cramped flight in this expensive seat, and the first thing you tell me is all the ways I might die.
Yeah.
And you wonder why I'd rather like be playing a game on my phone than listening to this. It's like, just try and relate a little bit, like make it less horrifying.
It's awful.
It is awful.
You're wrong.
You're wrong, and you should feel bad.
You should feel wrong.
So, are they really calling the Snapchat leak the snappening?
The snappening.
Are you calling it?
I saw someone call it the snappening. I saw them.
I beheld it.
What they did, I saw it.
What is the snapping? I don't know if that comes through in my voice, but I'm pulling down at my eyes and like frustrated.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
It's not.
The snapping is apparently, and Snapchat is denying any culpability and having done anything wrong in this.
Our API leaks like a sieve. It's everyone else's fault.
Yeah, so they're basically saying if people want to use unauthorized third-party apps and then their pictures get leaked, it's not our fault, even though those apps are using our API, and that's the reason the photos leaked.
Right.
They didn't say it that way, but
that's
what
it
it amounts to.
Yeah.
Is basically this researcher figured out that you could sniff the network near someone, that the token the API gives you, that it like the API doesn't differentiate whatsoever. So someone who can intercept that can do anything, including just grab all your supposedly transient pictures.
Right.
And this is like, I don't like, why would you use Snapchat? I just don't see any.
Well, okay,
the vibe, not the product idea. Like, I get why people are attracted to the product idea. It's the company.
Maybe I'm overly optimistic, but I honestly believe that the main use for Snapchat is not teens sending
Sexting.
each other naked pictures of each other. It's adults sending each other naked pictures. No, I honestly don't think that's
Christopher Lee sending naked pictures of himself.
I honestly don't think that's the main use, because I think stupid kids and stupid adults and stupid families and stupid people in general, like they're using it as like, instead of sending like a frowny face emoticon, they send like a picture of them being like frown face, or like instead of texting lol, they like, it's a still shot of them. Right. And it's like, I think that's probably
guffaw. That's a guffaw.
It is a guffaw. And I think that's probably the main use. But if you say to someone, our entire business model is around this data being secure and destroyed automatically, whether you want it to be or not, there will be some people who are occasionally like,
well, it's like a honeypot for stuff people want to steal.
Well, and it's just like, say, you left your one credit card at home, so you text your spouse and you're like, hey, send me a Snapchat of the front and back of the card, because you're thinking like it's secure and it'll get deleted. I know that's kind of a stupid case, but like that's the sort of, when you think the channel's secure, you start to find those little niche cases.
Well, and what do you do when it's like, I need to send my credit card number to my wife?
Yeah, there have been multiple, and I sound super paranoid the first time I had to do this, but I was talking to my wife online. I had to do something over the phone, and we were going to put it on a card I didn't have with me, and I was like, I need you to call me so that you can read the card number to me and I can write it down by hand. Do not IM it to me.
Yeah.
Don't IM me credit card information. Or like, I was filling out like medical paperwork and it's like, call me and tell me your social security number. For the love of God, do not send it over this definitely insecure IM channel.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and do not email it. Oh my God.
No. And I mean, it sounds extra super special paranoid, but remember, the thieves and the criminals, it's not like, oh, well, if I leave my door unlocked, I'm in a good neighborhood. The chances of someone coming up to my house and trying my door to see if it's unlocked are slim. These are robots. Like, they're just robots out there just like sniffing the network and scanning for traffic. So it's like, you're not guarding yourself against coincidence. You're guarding yourself against a fairly likely happening. So
Snapping.
The snapping. So this is like, a bunch of nude photos got leaked, but also probably things like credit cards and birth certificates and things that people just needed to see for like a second to like copy information off of. And also lots of butts and dicks.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know. You never used Snapchat? Like you didn't even try it?
I tried it for 5 seconds just to see what it was.
Yeah.
But since I'm not a teenager.
See, I can...
Since I'm not in middle school.
I mean, I have a little baby daughter at home, and I can imagine like, oh, my wife is at home with the baby, or I'm at home and my wife's out, so like I'll send him a picture real quick. But it's like, I don't really want those to be transient. Like, it's okay if I save every picture of my kid I've ever taken because they don't take up any physical
your first
space.
kid.
My first kid especially. But it's like, But I mean, like, if she sends that to me over Hangouts, or if I send that to her in an email or on Google Plus, like, it's okay that that's permanent or permanent.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want that to necessarily be transient. So I don't know what the hell I would use it for.
Yeah.
I guess sad face and lol, I guess, would be it. But this is what I never even tried
the transience is coming to the other platforms now just due to the popularity. Like, I can send little audio clips through iMessage that disappear in 2 minutes. So I can have like a walkie-talkie conversation, and my wife doesn't have to actively delete them. It's just like, listen, done.
That's, you just put your finger right on it. The transience, the benefit is not security, it's organizational clutter.
I don't want to manage all this media.
It's just organizational clutter. So, but don't you think people tend to associate those two, right?
Yeah.
They think, oh, it was deleted, it's gone forever. It's like, nah.
Almost never.
Probably not. Did you secure delete? Is your device encrypted? Was it done over HTTPS?
Did you do a 7-step erase, zeroing, randomization?
What I think it's the DoD. I think is only 3 pass, and then there's a crazy one. There's an algorithm that's like a joke where it does like 185 passes. It takes something like a year to run on an average machine. Or you can just let it get halfway and then stop, and then it corrupts all your data, and then you know it's gone. The snapping. That's. It's not as bad. At least they didn't say Snapgate.
Snapgate.
It's not
Snapgazi.
It's not Snapgazi. It's definitely not.
How does the band Fugazi feel about this?
I don't know. Did they know there was a place called Benghazi when they chose that name?
I don't know.
We should have them on and ask them.
All right, I'll give them a call.
So,
hey, Fugazi.
So this one, the journalist buying Twitter fame.
Set this one up.
Okay, so there's an article on Medium which... Oh, yeah, I heard
it was rehosted on Medium because it's like the Wikipedia for journalists.
Yeah. So a guy wrote something somewhere and then eventually posted it to Medium. And I think he actually works for a magazine.
It's QZ or Quartz.
Quartz. So for $68, he created, and a couple hours worth of work, he created a fake person, gave them a fake Twitter bio, gave them a Wikipedia entry, and some absurd many thousand, like 50,000 followers on Twitter.
And he's that like vague, I'm a modern thinker, writer, speaker.
Oh yeah,
opinion person. Like,
yeah, it's
a maven.
He gave TED Talks. He's written books about like imagining the true self or something. Like it's all very touchy-feely, easy to fake
modern
BS.
Self-help kind of nonsense.
And I'm not trying to just completely devalue that stuff. I'm just saying that the terms are so fluffy. Anyone can latch onto them. Like a regular person is not likely to say, I have a PhD in applied physics, because that's like a huge claim. But to say like, I'm a speaker who thinks about, the self in the modern world, like anyone can make that claim.
I play in this space.
Yes, anyone. Anyone can make those claims, so that's not harder, or it's not hard to fake. And it kind of like baits in.
Well, and the other thing,
bullshit.
The $68 comes in is because he went to Fiverr.com,
Yep.
which, if you're unfamiliar, is a place where you can pay someone $5 to do.
Don't you mean Fiverr?
Fiverr. Basically, it's $5 and people will do things for you. Like they'll draw an avatar of you.
That's where I got mine.
Yeah. Or they'll give you feedback on your song. Or, it's just like a random market. It's like one ads for like cheap little tasks you can pay people to do.
Mm-hmm.
And people actually advertise themselves like, I can draw illustrations. I can do this. And so he bought followers on Twitter, which of course is against the terms of service, but how good are they at figuring out?
Well, when you consider the way they sell advertisers is probably on number of users, I don't think they enforce it all that hard.
Yeah, it's sort of a fox guarding the hen house or whatever it is.
Oh, it's Fiverr. So there is an E, but there's 2 R's. So it's Fiverr.
Fiverr. So he used Fiverr to get followers, and before you knew it, and he also faked a little blue check of like.
That's my favorite.
That he put it. He's like, yeah, some people won't fall for this, but my avatar picture actually has the blue check of like. verified.
Yeah, because he lined up the pixels so that it's part of the background image on his Twitter profile. Like that's attention to detail, man.
And so how quickly did he get to some insane number of followers?
I think it was same day.
So same day he got to what?
In the tens of thousands. So let me check and do some internet research on my blogosphere.
Right now it's 7,000 followers.
Oh, he bought 50,000.
Okay.
Or no, he bought 90,000 for $50. Okay.
So I want to read his profile.
Santiago Swallow,
which he used a writing software to generate a unique name.
Yeah, which that was not the first one. He said it was just his favorite.
And so here's his bio: reimagining self in the online age, art, talk, thought, and that's it. And then now it links to the Quartz article about how he's fake.
Right, and he did make some outright fraudulent claims, like that he had spoken at TED and that he's written a couple bestsellers. But I mean, if someone just says like, yeah, I wrote a best-selling book, like you're probably not, unless you're getting ready to give him a job.
So one of my favorite parts of the story is that he generated tweet content of just like vague
total
aphorisms, like the future is the present, only later. This is like Mystery Men, like Ben Stiller, like stuff. Like a smile comes from the soul, a tear comes from the heart, a cuss comes from the ass.
This is more like really bad fortune cookies. No, what I think is amazing about his BS tweets is it's not like he found some list of terrible, one sentence sayings and put them into a spreadsheet so he could tweet them. He found software that already existed to already publish bullshit tweets on behalf of a bullshit user.
Yeah.
Like, not only is he not the first to do this, but he's so not the first to do this that there's a whole industry to like support this kind of fake nonsense. It's fake users following other fake users to bolster the fake following.
So it's just an echo chamber of nonsense.
Yes. This is why like I'm kind of stingy with who I follow on Twitter, because I'm like, you're an interesting person, but that doesn't mean your tweets are interesting. And I don't mean that in like a stuck-up way, but there are a lot of people who I'm like, oh, we agree on like this professional thing, or we're into the same kind of video games or whatever, but you only tweet pictures of your coffee.
Yeah.
It's like, I just don't care about your coffee, so I'll talk to you in real life. We can have a professional relationship or whatever. I just don't want to follow you on Twitter.
I want to read two more of these. Armor sometimes repels enemies and always repels friends. What? And then, to be more awake, be more asleep.
Oh, God.
What?
This is one of
those psychological things, though. If people want to believe you, like if you're that kind of con man, it's like you say this stuff and they're like, that is really profound.
Yeah, I mean, this is every time anyone talks about spam, I always I either personally come back or the people discussing it come back to, it's just a numbers game, right? Like, because it's a robot, mostly talking to other robots, but because it's a robot, you don't have to spend time and effort convincing each person individually to send you money for Viagra.
Yeah.
Like, you can just say to like 1 billion people all at once, like, hey, everybody send me $5 for Viagra. And if only 1,000 people comply, that's still $5,000. So it's like, I mean, people say like, oh, who would fall for this? And it's like, somebody, obviously. Otherwise they wouldn't keep doing it.
Yep.
So is this, I guess his whole deal with this was just to show how easy this is, right? I mean, he's not specifically trying to discredit Twitter.
I get that he successfully garnered thousands of followers, but I still don't see that anything that crazy was accomplished. It's not like I think the story becomes a story when Santiago gets invited to actually speak at TED or, something like that. Because I think there was a documentary about 10 years ago or something called The Yes Men about these guys that just wore suits and went around like pretending they were important and belonged. And they actually got into like the UN, into like meetings. And just like they it's that whole like your uniform can like, walk around with a suit and a clipboard and people let you go anywhere kind of thing.
So, yeah, that is a deeply held belief.
So they basically
capitalized on it.
demonstrated that in a documentary. And so
I think based on the way this guy's article ends, I think he's really getting at 2 points. The one is not just that this can be done, but how like cartoonishly easy it was. $68, a couple hours of work, and boom. And then if he wanted to capitalize on it, like, look, all I had to do to lay the groundwork was a couple hours of work and a few dollars.
And now I can actually change this profile to a real account and
right. And tweet all the robots that follow me.
But you might be blown up in like the who you should follow ratings for actual new users.
Right. Oh, that's an interesting. I would not have considered that. So you make a BS machine and then you just step in at some point and you're like, now it's me.
Yeah.
Do people do that?
This is like I sent a car into the race 2 hours before the race started, and then I just arrived at the right spot and hopped in. And
See, I mean...
And apparently in Tour de France before like television and more coverage, people would try to hop on trains and skip parts of the course.
See, the only reason I find that a little... And I'm sure in reality it would never come back to bite you, but I wouldn't want the history of bullshit behind my account. So it's like, say you did this on January 1st and then on January 30th you take it over as you. That means there's a month of bullshit in your Twitter history that someone may come, like probably not, but they may come across it and then be like, how come for a month you tweeted things that were...
you just go through and delete that. Also, Twitter hides, like, unless you request your archive, after a certain amount of time, people can't see your old tweets.
That's very true. And they can't request your archive.
Yeah.
So for $68, I could be internet famous by this afternoon.
I think I know what I'm doing today.
Yeah, right? Cancel all my meetings.
Oh,
and the other thing is he did pitch a book. To be fair, he saved it for the very, 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 very end. It's not like throughout. He was like, in my book, I talk about blah, blah, blah.
In my book.
So did you know, I just have to mention, because the TED thing put it on my mind. Did you know that in TED, you're specifically not supposed to mention like your company or your product?
It's just supposed to be your ideas.
Yeah. And when I found that out, I thought back on how many TED Talks I'd seen that were basically like, in my research for this product that I'm willing to sell you for $1,000.
Yeah.
I was like, this is an ad. Doesn't mean it's not interesting, but he's definitely trying to sell me something.
Yeah.
Sketchy. I guess at least if they're interesting. So do you want to wrap up with this young people love lock-in? Because I don't want to talk about this Apple crap.
Yeah, we're going to skip that. So this was an article I ran across that was basically responding to the idea that this new set of youngsters loves lock-in. It's like lock-in's great. And for the non-techie listener, like when a platform locks you in, it's like you can't leave. It's like if I leave,
you can't leave with your stuff.
Yeah. It's so if I switch away from iOS or Android to the other, I can't use my apps on the other platform. But that's like the most tame version because that's not really that. It's like understandable technologically. Like, well,
right. It's
a different app.
I think it's more like, what do you mean I can't open all my Microsoft Word documents in iWork or vice versa?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because people expect their data to be portable.
And so his particular example is the way that most companies are not opening their products up and they're just having these closed APIs that are tokenized. And that what this means is if anyone innovates on their platform and threatens them, they can just revoke the token. Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
And so instead of having an open platform where you have to deal with competition and theoretically things just get better because you're competing, it's like, no, Twitter can be like, yeah, Tweetbot's kicking our ass. well, fuck them. No API for them.
Yeah. And, in Twitter's case, because I think Twitter is probably at this time in history, is the quintessential example of, fuck developers.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude, thanks for all your hard work. Now get out. So
thanks for setting up the house. This is our house. See ya.
Yeah. Hey, where's my room? You don't have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
this is like the whole, you paid the Kickstarter, but you didn't buy stock in the company. But
right. Yeah.
It's
and
like
we don't have to send you a
not-
product because
they're
you
not-
didn't actually buy anything.
They're not legally wrong, but they're douches.
Yes. Yeah, you're not wrong.
So
You're just an
his
asshole.
example at the end is, maybe I'll read this. He'll say, so his basic argument is, no, young people don't inherently suddenly love lock-in just because it's fashionable to do it closed APIs now. And so here's the paragraph I want to read. He says, we'll see what happens. The long term is a bitch, and it has a tendency to plow under get-rich-quick schemes. And I know you think it's idealistic, but evolution only builds on open formats and protocols. That's how technology layers. It's true some patents hold and some lock-in gets built on. Look at PDF, for example, but there's a reason HTML took us places PDF never could. The ability of anyone to do anything they wanted to without having their API key revoked. That's a big enabler of creativity. To use terminology VCs understand.
Yeah. Well, I think with Twitter, it's interesting to me because the only reason I can think of that they, from their end, would justifiably cut off like Tweetbot and I don't know, Carbon and all the other TweetDeck. They actually bought TweetDeck and then basically just left it to die.
About Tweety back in the day.
Oh, yeah, true. Is because they wanted to make sure they got certain statistics from users and that they gave certain ads to users. Ads, yeah. But I mean, the statistics drive the ads. So I wonder, couldn't they have just said to build on our platform, you have to send us these statistics and you have to
show these
ads, with this amount of frequency or more?
I think they basically are going in that direction. It's just more like they didn't want to scare off all the enthusiasts who were using those apps by pissing them off by if you do ultimatum and then like.
But I mean, so they just killed them? Like, doesn't that scare people off?
Well, what Twitter did was they set a limit on the number of tokens these apps could release to let people log in, basically.
Yeah, I think it's like 100,000 without asking for more.
Yeah.
But I mean, that just feels like such a crappy... It's like, oh, you could either continue helping us build our platform and you make money and we make money and everybody makes money, or we can lock the doors to the house and turn off the music and turn off the lights and go to bed, party's over.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, for me, I like Twitter. I'm every day I'm following like a few more people to where the chronological stream is no longer good enough. I need my red position to be remembered between devices and services. And it's not. And that is so unacceptably simple. Like, this is not a complicated problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I only...
You can just use a timestamp.
Yeah, something. I only ever use Twitter from my mobile because on the web client, it always starts at the top. In TweetDeck, it scrolls continuously, so you can't make it stick anywhere, even if you leave it open. It's like, how have you not mastered this? I mean, maybe I'm using Twitter wrong. Maybe most people use Twitter in a way where they're just like, oh, well, I'll just read from the top till I get bored and then I'm done. But I don't do that. Like, I actually kind of scan over everything.
So I think what's interesting is this guy's argument is basically like, in a short time span, you can definitely leap ahead by being closed. But in the long term, this will just it'll kill your ability to survive in an evolving world. And his other example is RSS. And he said he remembers there being all sorts of fancy content management APIs around the time RSS was coming into being. And guess which one we remember and still exists?
Yep. RSS and Atom.
Yeah.
And, it's actually, this is an interesting argument because I've heard the exact reverse argument levied only against Google. Where they say, oh, Google brings everybody in by being open, and then once they have them, then they lock them down. Like, that's the argument people make with Android all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just like, is Google so powerful that they're the exception?
Android's just such a weird one we could spend a whole episode on because it's AOSP is completely open source, but Android in practice in the world is not AOSP.
Yeah.
And so it's like this, it's this weird, like you have to be very specific about what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So
and when people say Android, they almost never mean AOSP.
No, they mean the Google flavor.
They mean Google Play services.
So but I mean, that's exactly it. Is they brought developers in. They were like, look, this open platform. And then they hooked more and more of the goodness into their proprietary stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, yeah, I'm on an open platform, but I'm shopping at this proprietary business. So I'm kind of like, it's not really open. I mean, like, to me, openness in a platform means a lot of different things. And I'm willing to pick and choose. It doesn't have to be iOS, which is like, until recently, was 100% locked down, or Android AOSP, which was like completely open. Like, there's some things I really want to be open. Like, I want to use custom keyboards. I want to use, custom launchers and those kinds of things. But if Google doesn't release the source code for like their Gmail app, like I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still going to use Gmail whether I have open source clients or not.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like the right place to be is probably somewhere in the gray.
But now Gmail is going all API.
It is. It's because the existing email APIs are bad.
Yeah.
Like, really dated, really old.
So this is the case for, I don't want to have one answer to this question. I get it. Like, in general, more open is better. We want to get to common standards that are open that no one gets to own and tax everyone for. But there are moments where it's like, yeah, the country's infrastructure sucks. Can someone just do something? And like, we'll sort it out later, but like, make it better. And then hopefully we haven't sold our souls to the devil. But
well, I mean, look, how many times have we talked about this with internet? Google, every town that Google has threatened basically to come and lay fiber in, all of a sudden Time Warner gets amazing. All of a sudden Comcast service gets amazing. And it's like, yeah, but instead of being in an open market and just doing the right damn thing, it took this like proprietary threatening, army coming over the horizon and like, our fiber will blot out the sun. Like, that's what it took to get them like actually move.
Yeah.
So I think it really, more open is better. I think that's the right way to say it. Like, lean toward open, but proprietary isn't automatically evil.
Yeah. And I mean, trying to build consensus in a community can be slow as balls sometimes. And you just, sometimes it just takes and I mean, I think sometimes Google's Android model is a really good one because it's open source that is backed by a private company that is putting resources behind it. Yeah. Like, all the most successful open source projects tend to be in that model where it's like they're kind of sponsored by someone private.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even a lot of people probably don't realize, but the vast majority of funding for Firefox actually comes from Google.
Yeah.
Because they pay a huge premium to be the default search in Firefox because they know people typically don't change defaults. So it's kind of like
and Safari. And what does Opera come baked in with?
Probably Google. I don't know, but probably.
I think they're happy to keep that. They'll pay. They're probably being extorted all the time to keep.
Yeah. But I mean, that Firefox lives and dies by Google's success.
I wonder if they want to become more independent.
I think over the last few years, since Chrome got more popular, they tried to diversify their funding model a little, but it takes a lot of small donations to equal Google's giant check with all the zeros on it,
Well, and there's also the model like WordPress.org has WordPress.com. Ghost sells their own hosting, which they just raise the prices crazy.
But Canvas, our own in-work content management system. And I love to non-technical people who they're kind of in that like, well, I know enough to make a really terrible argument. When they say like, oh, well, this is open source, so it's supposed to be this completely free platform. And it's like, the software is free. You can run Firefox for free without paying anyone any money. You can run Canvas. You can run Chromium, which is, what Google Chrome is baked on. But then to say, oh, but then I also want all of the servers and all the maintenance and all the support, and I want you to do work for me when it doesn't work the way I want. It's like, no, that costs money. Like, it can't just all be magically free. Then we'd live in some kind of crazy utopia.
Yeah.
And we'd have unlimited time and never die of old age. Like, there's a lot of stipulations to getting what you want 100% of the time.
And it's a little bit of the Joker. Like, if you're good at something, don't do it for free. It's like, if you're providing value in some space that had an inefficiency or had, something that could be better, then somewhere in that system, you're getting paid for it. Otherwise, why would you do it?
Right. And I think, so
capitalism.
Yeah, we don't have time to flesh out this whole thing right now, but like when it comes to like digital music and digital books, and they say like, well, you only had to produce one copy and then all the other copies don't cost money. And it's like, yes, but don't think of it as paying for the physical object.
Yeah, you're paying that it gets to exist at all.
Yes, exactly.
All the efforts.
You're paying so that person can create more things. Like you're funding their art, basically. You're like a patron of the arts at that point.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just solved it. If you frame
There's already sites doing this. I think it's
Patreon. Yeah. But I think framing it that way will make people understand. Or it will confuse the hell out of them because they're uncultured slugs.
Well, that escalated quickly. And there is no in between.
Nope.
If you're in between, you're probably using plastic.
Plastic.
All right.
Fiverr.
Where can people
pay on
find
Fiverr
you?
with your plastic? People can. Well, where can they find these show notes?
Fine, we'll start with the show notes.
Show notes,
The flipping tables. Show notes. At http://FLIPPINGTABLESPODCAST.com/036.
I got the distinct impression that midway through that joke, you realized it wasn't worth it. You're like, oh, this is taking forever to spell.
Flippingtablespodcast.com for show notes.
/036 for this episode.
Yes.
And where can people find me? They can find me at lionsandbeta.com or at lionsandbeta on Twitter.
Yes, and you can find me at pseudomykel.com.
Oh, right.
And
I forgot. We're just stopping.
Medward's music.
No, that's fine. You can do that. I just forget every time. So, and I'm interested. So we got some great feedback about spoilers from people. And what I want to hear about this time is what we talked about right at the beginning is this, the mobile payments. Like, do you want to do this? Can you do this? Like, does it freak you out?
Do you carry a lot of cards?
Yeah.
What are those numbers?
Are you like me where you're just stuck because what you're carrying isn't actually a credit card? It's like a stupid rail pass or whatever. Stuff. Yeah. So I'm interested in this because I have this suspicion that I am not an outlier. I think most people are not that excited about mobile payments because they're like, yeah, but what about all this other crap? So we'll see.
All right.
We'll hear from users and we'll see you next week.